We do not own this house. We are simply tenants here.
Mr. Speaker, will you please call the House to order?
The bill is passed.
Hi, and welcome to Assembly Update. I'm Assemblyman Ramos, and I represent the towns of Brentwood, Bayshore, and Central Islip. In the past several years, we have made a concerted effort to engage our community in the legislative process up in Albany. And what we have done is brought hundreds of constituents up here who are concerned about different issues, and we teach them how to lobby, and we make sure that they sit with the right people to be able to get some response of government to the needs of our district. Today I have a distinguished guest who is known to many in our district, and he is the superintendent of the Central Islip school system, and that is Dr. Carr. Welcome, Dr.
Thank
Carr.
you, Assemblyman Ramos.
Dr. Carr, I'm very happy to have you here today because the schools are kind of the center of our community. They affect so many aspects of our lives, not just the students who learn there, but certainly it affects your average homeowner's the taxpayer. It affects the values of people's homes. Most people shop for homes based on the quality of the school district. Mm-hmm. So the impact that you have, not only with the student at that time, but on all the residents in our community is very important. So every year, you come up to Albany normally with the school board, and we talk about the situation, the current status of the schools, and you lobby to be able to try and get more funds and to get policy changes to be able to attend to the needs of our students. So we have an opportunity this year because we have a budget that's coming up very soon. We're in the process of negotiating it. For the first time, we have a Long Island member from Suffolk, which is myself, who happens to be in a leadership position, and I'm at the table. So that presents a very good opportunity to be able to express the needs of our school district. So why don't we start with talking about some of the issues that are current, that the public needs to know, and that the assemblyman and the senators also need to know in our negotiations.
Well, first of all, we're very grateful for the work that you do for Central Islip as well as all the school districts in the Assembly District number 6. However, I have to get rid of a burden first. And the burden is that the people need to know that you have helped our students in a particular way. We have 60 computers on loan to children right now who do not have access to computers at home. And those children will be able to use those computers as long as they need. When they get a new system at home themselves or graduate, those computers come back to the district and go into the hands of other students. So I just want to thank you
you're very welcome.
From the bottom of 60 kids.
And that's an example of how being engaged with the process up here in Albany brought some results, because we spoke last year. We've spoken many times about how many of the students don't have access to computers. And then the idea came up of a loan system, of being able to get capital money to purchase computers for the school so that students who don't have access to computers can take them on loan and reuse them. And they can be reused year after year in the schools. So as a result of those conversations and your engagement up here, we were able to secure funds outside of the school budget to be able to get that. So I'm very happy that program's working out.
Thank you very much for that. And I know that you're working on other initiatives
this year,
when they're
we're
concluded.
Hoping to do the same, yes.
Oh, we need the assistance in every way, and we're very, very grateful for it. So it's important that we say thank you to you.
Yes, we have some great projects on the burner right now. We're working on the STEM lab to be able to have that in the schools, and we're in the process of making sure that government responds to it, that the resources are there so that we can bring a state-of-the-art lab to our schools, as well as some programmatic funds that will bring our students to a different level when it comes to competing in that area. And really, I think it'll really do much to increase the quality of education for many of our students.
You've introduced it, so I'd like to continue on that, just so that the viewers know that there's a great possibility that we'll be having 5 students apply for STEM or Intel scholarships next October. They may not win those scholarship sets up to the quality of their work, but with your assistance and the assistance of the Stony Brook University, we'll be seeing some great improvements at the high school level.
Well, certainly there's no reason why our district should not have a state-of-the-art lab so that these students have the tools that they need to be able to compete. Because it's really not fair that a wealthier district was able to afford that their students are in a better competitive position as opposed to a poorer district for the lack of infrastructure, for the lack of facilities for our students. So that's our project for the year, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed that we're successful. We'll know in the next couple of weeks.
There's so many complexities to a school district, and one of them that we're experiencing when you talk about that, comparing school districts is our transient rate of students. I'll go one direction if you don't mind. First of all, and that is that our district has increased our student enrollment by 1,100 kids in 6 years. We've gone from 6,200 children to 7,300 children with a 2% tax cap and with state aid following a year and a half after the expenses. It's very difficult for us to carry the cost of expenses when we have such an increase in student enrollment. 2% tax cap, that covers rate of inflation. Everyone can see that. And for most districts, that accommodates their rate of inflation. But in Central Islip, 1,100 more children, that's an 18% increase in students, and we see that trend continuing. We need some relief from that 2% tax cap, and with our local community with a low combined wealth ratio, we need more assistance from the state or federal levels to assist for those,
the
those increased
demographics show
students.
on Long Island that the most rapidly growing communities are diverse communities such as Brentwood, Bayshore, and Central Islip. So the impact is felt by the schools of that demographic growing. As the population grows, there's no population growing faster than the immigrant community, than diverse communities like that one. So as a result, our schools end up getting an influx of a lot of students. In addition, I know that we had the issue of the unaccompanied minors this year. And what happens is, I know that it creates a cash flow problem because the funding for students, for a student, whether it's a student who comes from California or if it's a student that comes from across the border over here, that funding becomes part of the formula, but you don't get it immediately. So your school is forced to either increase class size or cut some other funding for something else to be able to hire more teachers. Either way, affecting the overall quality of education within the school. So that's one of the things that we're hoping to do. I know that that's one of the things I've been talking about in these negotiations, is that we have to take this into account, and we can't wait for better days. Like, you know, when it comes to education, you have a child who's in 11th grade, and we don't have the particular funding to give them the proper class size this year. It's not like they can come back 5 years from now when you know the economy's better and give it to them again. You know, an opportunity delayed is an opportunity denied when it comes to education.
You're right on. During the recession of 2010 and beyond, we had to reduce our full-day kindergarten down to half-day kindergarten. In our community, there's fewer number of children who go to nursery school or pre-K. So kindergarten's their beginning, and with a half-a-day kindergarten, they didn't get the start that they needed when we had to, during the recession, had that reduced funding. We're looking at the students who participated in half-day kindergarten compared to those who had full-day kindergarten before and children who had full-day kindergarten after. We've restored that full day. And we see that the scores among those children who had half-day kindergarten are less than the scores of those children who had full day. So that was an opportunity missed.
Distinction, as it goes to preschool also, you know.
Absolutely.
The ones who go to pre-K also, it's quantifiable, the difference in their academic achievement later on. That's why these investments are real important, you know. And sometimes you hear people talking about, you know, we have to cut funds here and we should cut here and we don't have the money and this is going to cost us when it comes to education. But we cannot look at funding education as disposable dollars. education is an investment, and there's no better economic developer than education. When you educate somebody, that person earns much more later on in life, and is giving back in the form of tax money, tax revenues to the state, to society for the rest of his life for this small investment. So we have to make sure that, you know, we look outside the boundaries of two-year terms or a particular year of funding within a school, and realize the long-term effect brings return to society. So it's an investment.
When we talked about undocumented immigrant children that arrived in Central Islip, you're right on that they, once we educate them, which we do as a school district, over time, the increase in tax funds, the increase in the quality of their lives, the people they affect, the people they interact with, there's an increase in quality of life among everyone across the entire United States. It becomes a burden for a local school district to carry that single investment into all children that we have, including those children who have arrived, when the entire country benefits from the education we provide. And it comes down again to funding, because what's occurring in our district, we've already talked about a lack of funding in a highly impoverished district. In that, we are looking at, with the increased enrollment, we are looking at either spending more money than we have, which we cannot do, or larger class sizes, which impact the education of all children. So we only have one choice if there isn't financial relief, and that is increasing class sizes. And that affects a long list of things, including the way the state evaluates our school district, but more than that,
Which is unfair.
the lives of
see,
children.
Yes, and at times I see Brentwood and Central Islip get evaluated on circumstances that are beyond their control, that affect the achievement of many of the students. You know, poverty has its effect on education, transient population of students who don't, their parents travel where the jobs are, so they don't do more than a year in any particular school. All these things might not exist in another wealthier school district, and it affects the achievement of many of the students, and it's not reflective of inferior quality of education in your schools. It's unfair to evaluate a school negatively based on those factors.
May I take your viewers down a path very quickly, and that is the Reed Middle School is labeled a priority school, soon to be a failing school. And I'd like to make a very simple example, nothing simple, but I'll try to make it simple for my ability to explain it. And that is, we'll take a class size of 30 children in 6th grade. We have 6th, 7th, 8th grade in that building. Transient rate is 10%. First semester. So that teacher will have 30 children to start with, but 3 will move out, 3 will come in. If we take that into the second semester, now that teacher will have 24 of the original students, 6 new students, with all of the difficulties that a teacher will have with new students arriving, you know, the social teaching. At the end of that, 6th, 7th, 8th grade, we'll have 12 of the original students, 18 newly arrived transient students. Now, is it fair to hold that school accountable as the same model as a school that had the same 30 children throughout 6th, 7th, and 8th grade? It's not a fair comparison.
Things, you know, and what happens is that's why these programs are important, to inform our community about these dynamics that really affect our schools, you know. And that's why it's also important that our community get involved in government and come up here, get involved in the process, understand these intrinsic things that cause a disparity in our schools. Dr. Carr, we're winding down.
Yes, sir.
And I would like to thank you so much for all you do for our community.
Thank you, Assemblyman.
Thank you.